Everyone close your eyes. Imagine you are a parent of a son or a daughter. Now imagine your son or daughter being kidnapped and abducted into human trafficking. The pain would be unbearable, right? You can open your prayers. Human trafficking has been occurring since the beginning of time in third world countries and the United States. Because most human trafficking victims are between the ages of 18 and 24, I feel it is important that we are aware of this situation. According to the Global Initiative to Fight Human Trafficking website, last updated in 2006, an estimated 2.5 million people are forced into labor. Learning about human trafficking in the United States will help us better understand how serious this phenomenon is. First, I will preview what human trafficking is, second, who are its victims, and third, where it is taking place. So first, what is human trafficking? According to the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, last updated in 2014, human trafficking is the recruitment and transportation of people through the use of force, abuse, abduction, or fraud. Human trafficking exploits men, women, teenagers, and children in the sense of sexual exploitation, forced labor, and practices similar to slavery. 80% are forced into sexual trafficking and 19% are forced into labor exploitation. There are many types of human trafficking. The main one, obviously, is sex trafficking. And then there's involuntary domestic servitude, bonded labor, child sex labor, child soldiers, forced labor, and forced child labor. Now that we know what human trafficking is, let's move on to its victims. The victims of human trafficking, like I said, can be men, women, teenagers, or children. According to the webpage titled The Polaris Project, last updated January 31st, 2014, traffickers normally prey on people who are vulnerable, people who are in the hopes of having better lives, people who have a history of sexual abuse, and people who have unstable lives. Undocumented immigrants are also highly favored amongst traffickers because they lack legal status and protection. They're unemployed, and they lack a language that is used in California. Children are often sold or abducted into this tragedy. They can be sold because their family needs the money or they need the food for their family. Like I said before, an estimated 2.5 million people are abducted into human trafficking. 80% are women and 50% are children. Men are abducted into this phenomenon, but they are put against their will to be traffickers, meaning that they are used to sexually abuse and assault the women and children. After discussing what human trafficking is and its victims, let's move on to where it is taking place. When we think or hear of the term human trafficking, we think of this happening in like third world countries, Africa, but we don't think of it happening right here in the United States. According to the webpage titled The Huffington Post, last updated February 2nd, 2014, the Super Bowl is the single most largest human trafficking incident in the United States. It is not so much that people are being abducted into this tragedy, but thousands of victims are taken to the Super Bowl to be used for men, for sexual use. Human trafficking is happening in our country, in our state, and in our city. According to the webpage titled State of California Department of Justice, last updated January 2014, California is the nation's #1 state in which human trafficking begins. This is because California is a populous border state where immigrants come into California in hopes of having a better life. An estimated 559 potential victims are abducted each year in California and forced into human trafficking. Now that we know what human trafficking is, who are its victims, and where it is taking place, let's wrap things up. It is important to discuss this phenomenon so that we can get a better understanding of what is happening around us. First, I discussed what human trafficking is. Then I discussed who are its victims, and then I discussed where it is happening. Although we may think that this situation can't happen to us, but it can. These victims of human trafficking never thought that they would be put in this situation, but look where they are now. Don't think for one split second that you are always safe. Be aware of your surroundings. And I leave you with this quote. You may choose to look the other way, but you can never again say that you did not know. Thank you.